So this is one of the reasons why I actually, the public has a totally different consensus opinion on Hiko, Spencer Martin, the former Cloud9 player, than I do. Because here's what people don't realize, okay? The public thinks Hiko is this asshole guy who, who does he think he is? He thinks he's like better than these other players, and he won't just join a team that's good for the next month, He wants to only join a team if it's like this good and on these terms, and if he can have these individual sponsors, and if he gets this amount right now. And what they don't realize is they're like, the gall of this person, how dare he think that? So my point I'm going to draw to on the Hiko aspect here is, okay, listen, we can all debate whether we think he should have gone to this team or whether he maybe did overshoot this, but what he's actually doing there is literally the path towards all these players getting out of being fucked, like demanding proper salaries. I have my own sponsors, mate. I'm not just going to go under your sponsor that gets me less money just so that I'm your player now. Basically these are you can decide if he's doing it for greedy reasons, but he's actually fighting over player rights issues, which one day should be everyone's concern.
The way that everything happened and the way that ultimately I got out of Cloud9 was less than desirable, and quite frankly, like, that's not what I want to be a part of again. Sure, when my time in Cloud9 was good, like Cloud9, Jack, the management, they treated me well. The hard decision was to either stay on Cloud9 and collect the paycheck and be happy and kind of coast along with it, or take the risk, leave everything I have built up for the past 2.5 years and try to make something else.
There is something that you have to agree with Hiko's standpoint, and that is that anybody that says he's just greedy and just doing it for a payday is an idiot. They don't really understand the bigger picture here, and that is that he could have had the biggest payday of all fucking time if he'd gone back to Cloud9. He chose not to do that. So to say he's financially driven is absurd. First of all, it's considered the norm in esports teams to pay all players the equal salary. That's considered the norm. When you sign as a team, the team is offered a salary as a group, so you will all get this amount. The contracts are replicas. It is uniform. There is no other successful sport in the world that works like that. Because, for example, to use a team you love very dearly, Duncan, NIP, the idea that Get Right is not worth more than anyone else on that roster is absurd. He is a star player. He deserves more money. You've got this ridiculous situation where, I saw Lurpus wrote a column about it in Elite magazine. Duncan's done a video on this. There can only be a limited amount of superstars. The ridiculous is their superstar value at no point in their career is reflected in their earnings. At no fucking point. They carry the weight, actually, for their team. If you're Olaf Meister, right, and we all watch him for Fnatic, JW has a bad game, who's got to pick up the slack, right? It's fucking Olaf Meister. He's got to be the guy that walks into a bomb site and kills fucking 2-3 players, right? That's his job. He's got to be that good all the time, or Fnatic actually struggle in tournaments, he is a fucking god right now at the game. Now, to me, a god should be the highest paid fucking player in the world. That's how it works in any other sport. If you say Lionel Messi, but come on, man, everyone else in Barcelona makes this money, get fucked. Lionel Messi's agent's going to say you're out of your mind. Yeah. Lionel Messi's going to say you're out of your mind. The fucking sports fans are going to say you're out of your mind. Pay him what he's due.
Imagine, Richard, if a real player union heard about that.
There's something to be said that if a big picture, if there should be a player association, if this union were to form, it would be helpful on all sides.
They need to get together and they need to appoint a player or an ex-player who is the head of a players' union.
And then why don't the players have a player union that could actually protect them from this kind of the players? There's no player union at all.
Fuck, we've mentioned that a players union is way fucking overdue. Why is there
someone from a top team needs to come and say, I want to be president of a players union, get everyone to agree, and that's it. There's a players union, and then they can't be just randomly taken advantage of.
Player rights are still being eroded. Once managers realize they're fucking serious and the union is a real thing,
someone needs to walk in and talk just for the player. And here's the biggest bummer, right? We always compare to sports. The business stuff we compare to sports. The training, the events, everything the production value, all compared to sports. And it did take regular sports decades of strikes and bullshit for player rights to be represented properly, for unions to be built, and for players to finally get their share of the revenues that they deserve for being the stars of the sports, right? My bummer is, how long are we going to wait? Why do we have to wait so long to keep this part fucked up, right? We're going to drug test them before we even fucking properly pay them. That is so ass backwards. And
that is fucked.
It's so ass backwards, it blows my mind, right? We've always, and again, I was a team guy for a while, and it was always like, well, no, if we pay him more, it'll cause team fighting. They have to fly together. What if he rooms with him and he knows he gets $500 more bucks? That's not going to work. It won't work. We have to be. And I never fought it, but it probably always would have worked, right? Fraud, you're the opper, or whoever your star is, right? You could think of all these teams over the years that that guy should have had $100 more, or whatever. Now thousands, right? So that has to change for sure.
Okay, so you're a teenager. You haven't really had time to even develop who you are as a person, and then you enter this world where everyone's like, "Oh, you're good at that game? Well, we'll pay you to be good at that game for us, okay?" And you're like, "Okay, well, what are you going to pay me?" And they're going to be, "Well, we're going to pay you this, but you got to sign real fast, no fucking around. It's got to be that, and you got to get these." So you go into it, and you're like, "Holy shit, man! Everyone's panicked. Everyone's signing contracts way too early. No one's giving anyone any time to read them, to breathe. It doesn't work like this in any other business. You sign a contract, you're plunged into this fucking world you don't really get, and the only person, your point of reference, is a manager, and then the manager gives you a T-shirt." Gives you a fucking T-shirt. You have to wear it every event. And the T-shirt is covered in logos. You don't know who these companies are, what they do, where they're from, what it means. You just wear that. You are a walking billboard for the organization. And the only commandment you have from the organization is go forth and be successful. That's it. They might not even give you the tools to be successful. You go to an event, you wear the shirt, you play as hard as you can, you get out, and that's it. And then you're like, okay, well, I guess this is sort of how it's supposed to be. And you don't really question it. But then, while that's going on, you're never going to know, like, what's this patch worth? What's that patch worth? What's this worth? How much are they getting for that, right? And you're advertising that shit. You're implicitly saying, I endorse all of these products on me. All of them, right? Without even knowing what they are, who they are, how they're made, how much they're paying, right? And then, or maybe, and I spoke to some pro players recently. They're like, actually, I prefer to use this peripheral at this event, but I'm sponsored by this one, so I have to pretend and use the other one when no one's looking. And I've been told, like, I'll get fined massively if anyone ever takes a photograph of it. And I'm like, well, okay, that kind of sucks.
Good luck. Yeah,
good luck with that. There's no individual endorsement deals. The managers of the organization are getting all this money that you'll never know about. There's no transparency. And you're their fucking pawn. You're their walking billboard. Now, this is where it starts getting interesting. The managers have to enter teams into tournaments. So the tournament organizers are like, hey, we need you guys to enter into our tournaments to give it credibility, but also we'll pay a fuck ton of prize money, maybe even expenses. Maybe we'll even pay for your players to be there. Gives us legitimacy, gives you guys money. And remember, prize money for almost every professional organization is being garnished by either 10 or 25%. It is a rare organization that does zero and lets players keep all of the prize money. So organizations are even getting paid the moment they enter you into a tournament if you get into the prize money. So sure, that might just cover travel expenses, but equally for something like the International, for example, that's a huge fucking payday if you win that. A player goes to a tournament, right, and he has a shit time. It's unacceptable. The hotel you get put in, it gives you flea bites. It's real substandard. You're expected to play for 16 hours a day because of delays. There's no water. It's unacceptably hot. It's just absolutely horrible. You come back and you say to your manager, who you think cares about you, you say, look, man, I don't know if I want to go back to that event again. It was real bad. It was real rough. And I'm not going to go on social media and make a fuss about it, but that sucked. And the manager goes, I got you, baby, because I love you. I love you. You're my little walking billboard. I love you so much, right? I'll sort this out. So he goes to the people who run that tournament, and what does he do? right? He says, my players weren't happy. And they go, okay, well, if you don't make a fuss about it on social media, what we'll do is we'll give you an invite to this invite-only tournament we got 3 months from now. And your team can come, and it's going to be super lucrative, and there's going to be loads of advertisers. You're going to get to network. It's going to be super cool, and just keep them off social media, and let's not complain about the other shit event we did. And I promise we'll do better in future. And the manager goes to the player, I sorted that all out for you, baby. I sorted that all out. Okay, pats him on the belly. But the point is, who the fuck is looking after players in all of this? And that's before we even get to the corporations that come in that are buying the leagues. So players, right? The only people that are allegedly looking after player interests are managers. And how do managers make their money? By directly exploiting talent. Fuck that. That is bullshit. It has got to change.
I had some conversations with a couple of the guys at Gfinity, right, about this same thing, because they saw me in the lobby and they were bitching about their upcoming schedule and the behind-the-scenes fighting of organizations, and they don't like what a lot of organizations are doing. Players always have problems, right? There's nothing different, and they're just having a little bitch session in the lobby, and Taz turns and goes, "Scoots, fix all this," and obviously that's not Taz's accent. It's horrible. And I just looked at him, and like 12 of them from like 8 different teams sitting in front of me. I'm like, "No, you fuckers, you all can fix this." I'm like, there's no sport without you all. And so I have this big like pep talk, right? And then I pull a couple aside, right? And I'm not gonna name names. And they were like, "Scoots, you're 100% right. Like, preaching to the choir." But here's the problem: the minute we decide something and decide, you know what, putting our foot down, it's exactly what you said, Richard. Is their bosses will go, "Cute foot, get the fuck out of the way. You're going anyway. Your boycott means nothing. You have no power." Because again, they have the most power, as every athlete would of their sport, but they actually feel like they have the least, which has to be incredibly disheartening, to feel that they really can't affect change in their own sport. Like, they don't see the power, right? See, I've always been a guy that, like, I'll help you, but it can't be me. But don't you think it has to, at its core, like, be player-driven?
If players will all just agree or back each other up. Like, this TSM ESL thing, every fucking team I spoke to were like, TSM not being there is bullshit. And I'm like, so why don't you say you're not going to go? Unless TSM are invited. And they were like, well, can we do that?
Yeah.
Can we do that? Can we do that? I'm like, of course you can fucking do that, dude. You're holding all the cards, motherfucker. And they're like, nah. Yeah, you are. You don't realize. The players live in a culture of fear. They're afraid of manager backlash. They're afraid of fan backlash. Like, if you're the team that says, we're not going to go and compete at this tournament because we don't believe this tournament is operating on an acceptable level, how long is it going to take before your fans turn on you? Like, in esports, not very long, actually. Yeah. Just shut up and go and compete. I've written a letter, an open letter. I'm going to send. I was going to send it to every player, like saying we've got to do something, because it's really starting to fucking make my ulcer go into overdrive watching how these players are getting screwed time and time again. The value they bring to the orgs and the value the orgs bring to the esports tournament organizers that have those orgs at their events, which give them legitimacy, it's not being reflected in what the players are getting.
It's not. It's absolutely not.
And you can't have all these crazy unwritten rules. You can't have individual endorsement deals. That your sponsors are the team sponsors, but you get none of that sponsor money. They just need somebody to show them what can be achieved without them necessarily putting their reputations on the line. Having a reputation as a rabble-rouser in esports, that could actually impact on your endorsement deals, your sponsorships, what teams want to pick you up, how your manager interacts with you, how your teammates interact with you. What I want to do is I want to reach out to all the fucking players equally and be like, look, everyone fucking hates me anyway, but you guys don't and never have. So I can be that guy privately. You tell me if a tournament's doing something bad. I go to them and I say, several of the people I represent, right? You don't even need to say, Fnatic told me this.
Oh, yeah. That's the whole idea behind it. The association
exactly.
backs it or doesn't back it.
And even if a team like, let's say, for example, what TSM are like, well, actually, we don't care about that. Well, there's enough people that it's a factor So I'm going to go bring it up. So I go to the tournament organizer and I say, look, this needs to change. Otherwise, the people I represent don't want to enter en masse. Someone's got to, and I'm sick of saying that. So when it gets to a certain point, like, it may as well just be you. You know? So I hope the players will listen, and maybe we can sort something out. I'll do it. Even if the player says to me, seriously, at this point, if a player says to me, we're not comfortable with you being a journalist, fine, it's gone. I'll quit. Honestly, hand on heart. I'll go. I'll walk. Yeah. To get this done,
that says a lot, actually, that you would.
I'll fucking quit the Daily Dot job, right? That's there. That's on record. I'll do that. Because someone's got to take this first step. I've got money in the bank. I'm not financially driven. I don't really give a fuck anyway. That's how it's going to start. I thought for the longest period of time a union would be impossible. Actually, I'm being an idiot when I say that, because all great unions, if you look at history, it just comes from that willingness to stand by each other as a group. You just got to voice that disapproval collectively and say this is one voice. Even though it's many people, it's one voice. I want it to change. I want the industry to be more player focused and to offer players the like say the value, what they're worth. It doesn't work that way right now, but it should. And actually, it's not going to take too many flexes of muscle to make it change.
NIP, that was an immense game, and look at that, the whole crowd.